the breadth of painting. When thinking of painting, the progression of thought is habitually about the end result. The first thought goes to the finished piece and its judgment, whether that means it's the thing that unlocks the doors to a prestigious auction or gallery, something that gives you employment or other merriment. And while asking this crucial question of like how can we get there to this desirable end result, it's an important question and a valid one that is often neglected in our premature celebration of this final result. Once we figure out the master plan how to get there, is how to be here. In many other disciplines, especially those with a physical component attached to them, coaching is guided towards better immediate performance. In music, there is a component of skill you simply can't get around, like the scales and just basically being able to play the instrument itself. And in sports, you pick your target, and outside of a few competitions, you're just training your body to get to the point where it can really, really perform. And then you have art, and it's like, why is art neglected this immediacy of coaching? We judge or are judged by the very last bits of effort that we did, meaning that the part that we could improve upon is so far behind us that either the lag in feedback makes it difficult to work into the piece, or because we have seen the mistake already and acknowledged it and become tolerant of it and accepting of it, we take it as a personal attack that when others see and come on and say, hey, this is not a darling worth protecting. And this trashing and lashing out on people who are just giving you honest feedback makes them actually avoid any kind of critical comments in an effort to spare our feelings, essentially. This just means that the feedback signal that you get from any kind of piece that you do is even weaker than just this delayed feedback, because it's not even accurate. A musician knows when they miss a note, but an artist can screw up their whole song without ever being told, even if the error that they committed was an easily actionable one, and that's therefore easily avoidable. And then this means that art, like writing, is reduced to wait for feedback till it has form. Painting, however, can still be recorded. In this case, in my own sake, I did an experiment to glean how I might improve my work. I just recorded my work and myself in my entirety and had that as a rather objective judge of what I was doing. And several things just jumped out immediately at me. And one of them is the conversation of today, the topic of the breath. And that is, every time I was irritated or I could see in the recording that I'm about to stop because I'm just done with this thing that I'm working on, what was not a problem was not necessarily in the piece, because I go through these pieces, at some rate, but rather my body alignment with this piece itself. That my problem was not necessarily with the painting, but rather my posture while painting. How this posture might push me up against my clothes or like somehow constrict my throat. And despite the footage I was reviewing was greatly sped up, I could see that my breath was like really like shallow and just not like as deep as you would expect from an otherwise rather calm position. This was really a crucial discovery for me, since the reason one usually stops is because we are thinking of the final result and how much work is left to be done, and not how are we right now, right here, how are we here. This tendency is actually doubly troubling because our imaginative faculties, as incredible as they rely primarily on our physical state as we are right here. That is, to see something in your mind's eye, you usually have to shut down your view of the world just a little bit, close your eye to really imagine, the scenario that you are seeing in your head. The trouble with this forecast is not just that we can't see what we can't see in it, but also that we aren't able to notice in any normal way how it is that we are reflecting forwards into the future. That this borrowing of our present state gets its say on how we feel about the future. We take the task that we are doing and reflect forwards. Now, most of us know if we stick with something, there is a hump to get over, and after that, the work somehow gets easier. The thing is, even knowing that, looking into a big work day ahead of us, if we're currently feeling worse for some stone in our shoe kind of way, and then we can't see this minor grievance, it just grows, and thus sitting down for the next period of work becomes increasingly undesirable. I had something like this happen to me when I was in my forest studio in the winter, where the temperature every night just went significantly below freezing. And then the warm-up for the day was literally to chop wood and start a fire. And that was a huge influence on my concentration, this external factor. But what does an outside factor, and why does that make it different than an internal one? And that is, of course, for the most part, that you notice. If you are interrupted by something, be it a loud noise or environmental heat, cold, in this sake of the studio, you see clearly for what it is. Internal interruption is much harder to really spot. Hence, why I had to use a camera, because it allowed me to step outside of myself and observe myself in an impartial way. And because it is impartial in its judgment, it just shows you what you did, even if that wasn't very much. It is objective proof. So, what does the breath solve, and how does that come into this? And why focusing on it, since the activity we're doing, only requires so little of the body in terms of physical skill. I mean, we're basically drawing a line from the head to the hand. Most of it is just sticking still as much as we can, because there's this focus on a very single line on the body. We can easily neglect focusing on the rest of the body at all. Focusing on the breath gives you something to pump from, to work from. Since even the most trivial breathing exercise gives you a calm and comfortable state, while also reinforcing our position as we are right here, right now. From that space, it is much simpler to sit and do the work that you committed to, because while you can see ahead and tell how far you have to go, it is a significantly more pleasant journey that your pen is taking across the page. So how does this information become actionable? If you simply notice your breath and you just take a breath, and you will usually feel that, okay, well, I'm taking a deep breath, but how are you really noticing how deep your breath is? And one thing to do to really feel your breath is just to place a hand or a limb on your body, like so, and then when you're breathing in, you feel the pressure. So like I put my hands on my diaphragm here, or on the side, and you will notice that once you have something to push against as you're breathing, you immediately notice there's a difference in each side. So we just go through and we feel how our breath is expanding our chest, and you will feel like you're kind of pushing a balloon against all sides of your body. And now that we have this baseline of activity, I'm just gonna take 5 minutes to draw, and let's just draw from this state, that is drawing state. And I just want you to find something that you have around you that you would like to, that you find interesting, and just immerse yourself in that, because you can probably draw and breathe for 5 minutes, right? Um, at the same time. And I'll just take that, and it might not be exactly 5 minutes, but let's just take it, and I'll work from there. So, and one thing that I would like you to pay attention to as you are focusing on taking these breaths, and really noticing how your body is shifting, your whole body is shifting to accommodate the breathing, is how does it have an effect on your drawing. For instance, if you are breathing in and you draw and you pull a line, or if you're breathing out and you push, like how does your breath have an effect on the lines as you are building them? So I think someone is filming with a drone or something. Yeah. And it's okay to take the time to just take a breath and not draw. And an exercise to try is to take a breath and then make a line, and then take another breath and then make another line, and continue from that, so that you create a pace that you can hold yourself to by using your breath to basically create the cadence of that. That's also something that you can try for your own experimentation. That is a bit more than 5 minutes, I suppose. But it's quite easy to to become immersed in something once you're just using your breath to keep the mind at bay almost. So now you've seen the exercise with your own eyes, or your own body at least. Hopefully you did it with me. I'll just actually ask you, how do you feel now, right now? Because in a lot of cases, the frustration that we are feeling about the future is something that is just completely unresolved at this moment, right now. A pause to breathe might just be the thing you need to sweep off all the grime that you have in your head. Like, even if it means just taking a pause, a step back, and then an exercise to try is just to, you breathe in for 7 seconds, you hold the breath for 7, you can count with your fingers, you can count with your head, and then holding that for 7 seconds, breathing out for 7 seconds, and then holding empty for 7 seconds. That's also a good way to extend and really feel how you can breathe in, because in a lot of cases you think, oh well, I'm done breathing in after, like, you know, we go like 1, 2, and then, you know, it's just like you definitely have more room to expand. That's not necessarily the sharp inhale, and you know, we could just repeat our breath as necessary, and you are breathing anyway, so you might as well put some effort into it and work with it. Because if we don't adjust our current state, we can't imagine it really ever changing. Just like how if you are suffering from depression, because you aren't, like, if people who are suffering depression, because they aren't happy in the moment, they can't imagine being happy in the near future either. So, you know, that just equals going out with friends, halving our pass. Despite all of our bodies coming and telling us that our emotions shall pass, and we might see the truth in it, of course, but our imagination, our imaginative faculties are limited to our present state. So knowing this forward, we can use it to advantage for just about any activity. Runners breathe to pace themselves and get a lot of focus on what their arms are doing. No one puts any notice to what artists are doing with their feet. The only part that's really studied among us is just the immediate connected line from line to brain to pen, from the mind, of course. The simple lesson then is, when you are having doubt, scan your body before you project the fear and nausea far into the future and to the rest, and basically spoil the rest of the work that you're about to do. And that's the lesson. So with that, I hope that you see the results for yourself and you get a great appreciation for the work that you are doing. And I hope you enjoyed this gift. My name is Jonathan, and I love living.